make sure to chew very quietly on those Doritos. We're live streaming this thing. If you do have friends that are not able to make it today, they're at the Poly campus, online students out at West, we are live streaming. So if you want to follow at Fulton Gen Labs on Twitter, is that even cool anymore? I have no idea.
Twitter?
Yeah.
No.
I liked one of your posts this morning.
That means you're not cool.
I know. I'm not. It's okay. I've accepted that, though. All right, I'm Brittany Martin. I put on the speaker series every semester. We have a speaker every first and third Thursday of the month, so go ahead and look on Inner Circle or Twitter, not really, to see who we have coming up for the rest of the year. But tonight, I'd like to introduce to you Greg Head, CEO of Greg Head Consulting's LLC. He has worked with hundreds of startups and small businesses to grow to huge scales, multi-million-dollar companies, 30 years in the biz, mastermind. So I will let him share the rest of his story with you. Obviously, he loves to hear what you guys are most interested in, so feel free to ask lots of questions at the end. We have a few microphones that we can pass out, so don't be shy. All right, thank you. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you, Brittany. Can everybody hear me okay? Little Mr. Microphone. Hi, everybody. So let's see, we got about 6 o'clock here. I could talk for days. I've been talking all day. I could keep going, but I plan to talk generally for about 30 or 40 minutes, then answer questions. And at about 7 or whenever we finish with that, the general stuff, I'll hang out here and answer any specific questions for anybody who just wants to dig in, and if you have any curiosity, if there's something I could be useful for to all of you. So thanks for being here. I'm kind of surprised to see it so busy outside this time of night. I guess classes go all day, all night these days. How many of you are engineering students? Okay, and how many of you are non-engineering business, mostly something else, right? So mostly engineering. And are you engineering types, partly entrepreneurial business types as well? That's why you're here, talking to somebody who's not an engineer or listening to somebody? No? You just want to get some free chips. There we go. All right, good. Well, whatever it takes. I know what it takes. So, thanks for being here. Let me just introduce myself, just to give you guys a little bit of context. When you say entrepreneur or startup or growth business or whatever, could mean a lot of different things. There's a lot of ways to do it. There's no one way to do it. So I'll give you a little bit of my background, so when I say something, you know where it comes from and you can plug it in. So as Brittany said, I've been around the software business since I came back to Chicago from the University of Iowa just 30 years ago, so it's been a long time. And I've been part of 3 companies that have gone from little startups to global big companies. 2 in Phoenix here that have gotten to 100 million in revenues and kept on going, one of which I helped start. So I'll just do a quick bounce through of my background so you can get a context of what a entrepreneurial career looks like, which means I didn't have a great marketable degree, didn't know what I wanted to do when I got out of school way back when, in the late 80s. And while I was putting on a suit and looking for a real job and didn't really get into that, I got a degree in economics and business and Spanish, so honors degree, smart guy, but had no clue what I wanted to do, and it was actually a bad economy back then, 1987. And a buddy of mine said, while you're looking for a real job, why don't you work with me at this software retail store, which was a new thing. If you go way back, it actually was in boxes that you bought at stores, and there were software stores. You probably remember CompUSA from way back when. That was part of it. So that's how I got into the software business. I wasn't a doctor or an engineer or finance major or something else. So in the beginning, it was all the misfits who really got into the game, and I was fortunate enough to start when the software business was taking off. And when something is taking off, the first, 5 years of it, it doesn't look like it's taking off. It looks like, why are you doing that? Why don't you get a real job? And all of that. It wasn't cool, but it was a ton of fun. The software business in its own little micro way was expanding, the PC and Macs and all that stuff. And so I got hooked on it on my retail store, which was called Egghead Software. So there's my first little gift to you. I was Greg Head from Egghead. I got out of college with a degree, honors degree, and there I was with a suit in a store, kids saying, can I get some discs? And it said Greg Head from Egghead on my name tag. So, but it was selling and it was growing, it was exploding. So in a few years, I joined one of the companies that had a box on the shelf. That was one of the new things that was coming up and that I was really into, that made software for salespeople to manage their contacts. And I joined an 11-person company based in Dallas, and all my parents and friends said, when are you going to get a real job still? And that little company grew up. And in the mid-90s, that was called ACT Software, and it became the standard software for salespeople to use to put contacts on their computer. We now use Outlook and phones and the rest of that kind of stuff, and Google Contacts. But that was really one of the first ones there for salespeople. And we went from 11 people to 150 people, and went from people, the first users of the software in the box, and they put it on their PC and love it. It's like we kind of knew their names, generally speaking, and the resellers to, by the late mid-90s, millions of users. So that newfangled, what is that thing? Why are people doing that? I don't get it. And building it up until it's one of the things that everybody does. That was the first time I got to do that. And that company was sold in 93 to Symantec, who's now does security software. And then I went to California from Dallas and all that kind of stuff. So installed it in a company and leapt out with the founder of that ACT software to start a company here called SalesLogix. So I'm a co-founder of a company that was started in 96 here. That's how I arrived in Phoenix, Scottsdale. And we, with 5 people, started off and got some venture capital because that was starting to happen. And we made software for sales teams to do the contacts and their deals and all that stuff. We now call it customer relationship management. That was the beginning of that business when nobody was doing that. And we grew that business pretty quickly. ACT was like a well-known product, the one you see in the Sunday newspapers and the ads for software and all that kind of stuff. And the company SalesLogix grew real fast. And in 4.5 years, we were a $30 million company. We went public in '99, which was pretty cool. And we had enough money to go to Symantec and buy ACT out of Symantec. So we had those 2 businesses and kept that going. So that was pretty interesting to install ACT into Symantec, start another company, buy it back, take it out. There's my stuff I left under the desk, when I left, and bring it back. So we grew that up and sold that. And so, there was a journey of starting, growing, all that crazy stuff, and selling the company to another company and starting again. And the last company I helped, and I had a couple other little, misses in between there, a couple tries that didn't pan out. And the last one I helped grow was a company called Infusionsoft, which was a scrappy but up and running company here in Chandler. It was in Gilbert back then. They made software for small businesses, so now web-based software, not Windows software, for small businesses that does prospects and customers and contacts and marketing and all that automation. So big companies would call that CRM and marketing automation, email marketing with the system for small businesses that are really digitally savvy. And we grew that company from 130 people to 600 in 5 years to 100 million. So now it's a big company in Chandler, south of Price Road. And I ran marketing there. So, but one more thing. After we bought ACT back from Symantec, I'd done marketing and international and a whole bunch of other things. I ran the ACT business for 5 years with hundreds of employees and global stuff and all that. So that was pretty cool. So, you guys are all smarter than me, especially the engineers, right? And I won't hold that against you. But I'm pretty fortunate to have started the right time, figured out how to hang on and play this game. And I started off making minimum wage with a name tag on. I didn't make minimum wage because I sold a ton and made a lot of money. But selling Act software, and 12 years later, I was running the business. So that guy, maybe that's my first hint is join a wave that's growing, right? That'll pull you along. I didn't certainly create all that myself, but I was fortunate to be part of it. And these days, I'm an advisor and consultant, so by fancy Greg Head Consulting, I'm launching a new company this fall. I work with the early stage CEOs, meaning they're past startup, they have customers, they're up and running, generally $1 million in revenues, a small team, and the ones that are trying to change the world, right? A company I worked with yesterday, their whole team, they make digital fundraising software like crowdfunding Kickstarter for universities, which are still pounding alumni with direct mail, phone calls every day, and email newsletters we don't read, right? The old guard is cranking slowly, and all the digital fundraising game that goes social and the rest is just starting to happen to universities. And there's a wide open opportunity to be the leader of that. So those are the kind of companies I work with. And I spent time with over 300 CEOs in the last year and a half since I left Infusionsoft. Infusionsoft, I was a chief marketing officer, and I was in charge of all the marketing and the growth game, the brand and lead generation and all that kind of stuff. So it's part of the revenue side. So I've done everything in the software business except code. So I really can't speak to, the inner technologies. I'm technical enough to know what's going on, but I see all the other stuff. And maybe I'll just start with, so I have a couple things to share with you today. I'm talking to entrepreneurs, investors, small business owners, and talent that wants to be part of that game every day, all day. And so I'm right in the middle of the soup with all of that kind of stuff. And I've been part of, for 30 years, growing companies from little to big, which is a unique game. And not every company starts with 5 and then ends up with 500. So there's a couple things that are going on with that game that are not very obvious, and not very obvious to a lot of people who are just starting that journey, right? A lot of lessons to learn from people who are starting companies, and most don't make it through that journey. But there's a lot of lessons just about, how to succeed in the modern economy. So part of the fun of what I do now, working with lots of companies and seeing lots of things, is I'm pretty close to seeing what's the near future is going to happen, the little companies that are growing that you don't know about yet that, are happening, and what's working out there on both the business side and the career side. So I'm going to share with you a couple, ideas that I talk about all the time with entrepreneurs, with job seekers, with investors that are playing. There's an active technology startup scene here in Arizona. It's pretty small, but it's growing. And it's bigger than it used to be here. It's not Silicon Valley, but we're playing in the global world with just like anybody. So you just came back from Bangalore, right? And there's a tech scene there, and there's 2 people removed from people we know here, and all that stuff is going on. So there's a global scene that's happening. So I'm going to share a few ideas I think will be useful to you as ambitious students, people on your journey, about the growth game for startups and growth companies, and starting companies that are going to be successful and grow, and for you and your careers. They both have some similarities, because you as running your own career, you as a business, is an entrepreneurial game too. And despite, I know you guys, some of you are in the School of Entrepreneurship and the rest, most of this game of growing businesses is a pretty practical sport. It takes a lot of smarts, a lot of energy, like let's call it street smarts. There's a lot of smart people that create companies. But that's not enough to make something successful. There's a pretty practical game that's going on there. So I got 3 ideas, and I'll write them on the board, and I'll kind of riff on them for a little while. Any questions about me or anything so far? Tell me something interesting you're saying. Okay, let's do it. All right, so the first idea here is, I'm not here to talk about what big companies and big institutions like ASU are, how to succeed in that group. I don't know that I could survive very long. That's one of the reasons I grow big companies and then run away and start early stuff again, right? So I'm one of those. So let's talk about the early stage growth game. So that's entrepreneurship, it's starting a small business, even starting your career, right? You're not established and know exactly where to plug in, you've got to go create something. The early stage growth game is actually an extreme sport. So everything you've learned as good students and reading your books and taking your tests and getting good grades and working with professors that's hard stuff, right? And so you're smart and that's all good. To get into starting up your own career, to run your own business, to be part of a company that's growing and find your way there, you actually have to kind of unlearn some of the lessons that you've learned to succeed in, as a student, right? Read the whole book, study for the whole test, get the good grades, right? And a good grade means you're learning something really important, but it's in a form that's already established. And the early stage growth game is not really established. The company I mentioned earlier that is digital fundraising for higher education universities, right? Like, which would be logical to you. You don't understand, like anybody under 35 doesn't understand what direct mail and dial the landline phone every night, which I get from the University of Iowa. We don't understand, but that's actually how 95% of fundraising is done at universities, right? And so in the early stage of that market, there's like two companies that are kind of standing there and they both have 10 people and nobody knows what's going on, and you knock on doors at universities of fundraising, they don't know what digital is, what's crowdfunding, they keep asking, right? There's no market report, there's no book that says here's how to do it. It's all like a frontier. And in the early stage growth, right, this is the hope. We do something small and eventually it's going to be big. That's where you make a lot of money, change the world, all that kind of stuff. The early stage, you find stuff that isn't established. And almost by definition, if there is this service providers and products that everybody knows about, and almost you could read the book about it, take the test on it, then the market is an early stage. It's established, it's cooked, it's done, right? And how many of you have done work inside companies, right, outside of the school? Okay. Pretty quickly you realize you get in a company, there you go. You get in a company and you realize this isn't very perfect. This is kind of messy. And most of it's kind of broken. And I'm kind of surprised that anything gets done. Like you go inside the university here, it's a massive operation and, a ton of things gets done, but it's pretty messy. There's a lot of problems to be fixed. There's a lot of problems to be fixed in the world. By the way, our government isn't going to fix most of them, in case you didn't know. And big companies aren't going to fix most of them. Big companies, even like ASU, is doing their best to run this whole complex, massive, important thing while being pummeled from the startups and the digital innovators coming from every side, right? That are going to disrupt the university system someday, just like Amazon's doing that to retail. So big companies, so you can succeed in big companies. They need smart people who can do very complex things and all that. So I'm not here to say big companies are bad. I'm here to say if you think you've got the word, you've been saying the word entrepreneur, I want to start my business, which you told me earlier, I'm going to get on my career rocket ride and go like crazy. then you've got to play an early stage growth game, and it's different. And even if you're reading books about it, those entrepreneurship books and the rest, got an A on the test and everything, like Mike Tyson, the boxer, says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. That's pretty much what happens when you start a company. So I know lots of smart people that say, I want to start a company someday, and they get ideas. And my son is an electrical engineer graduate just earlier this summer from Santa Clara University. Had a bunch of engineer friends here at ASU. He's out there starting a company. He's way smarter than me. He's an electrical engineer, all over it, reading all the entrepreneurship blogs. I recommend things, and he's like, Dad, I already know that stuff. He's helping us start a company. But now he's calling me every night going, wow, this is different. What do you do here? So I have some of that practical support. The growth game of growing a little company. I want to start a company. I want to get in a startup. I want to grow a startup. I'm on a fast-growing company. We want to grow bigger. Growth is the game, right? Retailers, right? We read headlines, Amazon's punching them in the face, their stock's going down, they're pulling the stores out and everything. Retail is still a massive multi-trillion-dollar industry that isn't growing. It was growing 3% a year, now it's growing 0, right? It's not like failing, it's just not growing. And if you're not growing, it's kind of dead, right? To the world. So this is a growth game. And in the early stage, before it's all figured out, you got to go to some place where there's no map and nobody's telling you exactly what to do. To me, like the idea that a job, you could go in and you learn something and somebody posts a job and it has this description, which, by the way, somebody made up, and it's somebody's human, and it's probably 75% right? And you apply and you get the job, and then here's your little piece of the thing to do, and you do that, right? It's just a made-up exercise as part of a big machine, right? When you get into start your own business, even start your career, startup and small business, you've got to step out and do something that isn't already established if you want to grow. I mean, there's a lot of people. You can go start a restaurant, make another burrito restaurant. Okay, that's not like a revolution in the world. You can be a real estate agent. And many of you will be engineers, working on super cool things for big companies, Intel or whatever. But if you want to create a company and watch it grow and be part of that journey, which is actually now it's kind of cool. Like for the 90s, it wasn't really cool. Having an MBA was cool, and the BMW was cool. We were totally the uncool kids. But now it's kind of cool. Silicon Valley and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. But it's an extreme sport. Meaning it's, I don't know. I've told my daughter this, who's studying marketing and sustainability in San Diego. So I have 2 kids. One graduated and one in college. A lot of people learn Spanish, right, in class, or language in class. And you get the books, and then you repeat the word, and take the test. And if you're good, you get the grades and all that. But by the end of a few years, you generally don't know Spanish. I mean, what's up with that? Okay, because that's marching along, and that's the kind of the institutional path. The entrepreneurship game is kind of like, hey, I'm going to go to Mexico in 3 weeks and live there for 6 months. How much Spanish can I learn in 3 weeks? You can learn a lot of Spanish in 3 weeks. I swear to God. I mean, you can listen to tapes, you could do all that, all kinds of stuff. You can actually get up to speed. If somebody said there's $1 million in Mexico City, if you can get around in Mexico City in Spanish in 3 weeks, you would probably learn more get around Spanish in 3 weeks than most people you learn in 3 years. Okay? So starting a company, running a company is more like that, where there's not a playbook in front of you and something hits you. Oh, I got to learn Spanish. I got to learn finances. I got to learn how to deal with a bank. I'm talking to a literary agent tomorrow about writing a book that I'm writing, about the stuff I work on, a tale that needs to be told for you and the entrepreneurs in the firefight, and it's going to be a great book. But I got to get like a master's degree in the book industry game, whether I self-publish it or go through a traditional publisher, like really fast. learn how to write a book, learn how to publish. There's a whole business to that thing that's non-trivial. I got to go learn Spanish really fast. And that's probably one of 20 things that I've got to pick up really fast as I go. And so the sport of creating a business in your early stage career is trying a bunch of stuff, learning a bunch of stuff, mainlining a bunch of stuff. But when you get into business, as soon as you start hiring people and you got 2 employees, oh my God, I got to learn about managing people, and I got to learn about HR, and I got to learn about payroll and all that kind of stuff. And growing a business is more like that, you know. So I'm all in for learning Spanish in 3 weeks and, you know, scrapping and figure that stuff out. Right? I'm not, if it's in a book, it's probably too late. There's really a lot of great books that can help you in entrepreneurship, and there are a lot of lessons. But you got to reread it once you're in the firefight, and then you go, oh, that's what they're talking about. Right? So my advice to you, first of all, if entrepreneurship, small business, growth game, rocket ride, venture funded, Silicon Valley style, you know, is your type, you're just somebody that says, I'm already playing this extreme sport. Right? I'm not just staying within the bounds of what my professor said is the limits of what I can learn, right, in this class. I mean, that's actually kind of the small part of it. Like, what am I trying to do with it? Maybe I could go learn all that stuff. Maybe I go talk to other professors. Maybe I just go figure it out. By the way, most of the knowledge that you guys are learning is somewhere online. Yeah, you could figure it out if you want to. And there are people all over the world who are watching those Stanford, MIT, you know, sessions and figuring it out, right? Not a ton, but they're out there. So, and if you're not that kind of person, and you're really smart and you want to do big things, then, you know, there's really important jobs, be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, or work for cool companies that create the structure for there. I don't like that structure. And so it makes me kind of a weirdo, and it's kind of a freakish game. So to be here, you guys are like, tell me something, Greg, from all of your experiences. I'm like, isn't this interesting? Because I'm the misfit freak, right, who didn't stop in this game, and you guys are listening to me. But I will say, the growth game, creating businesses and industries and products that didn't exist, solving problems in the world that need to be solved, those are the people that are going to solve the new things. The healthcare game isn't going to be solved by our government. I wish that it would be so. If you put Walmart or Amazon in charge, we have a different solution faster, right? You know, the Amazon game, have you, anybody interviewed at Amazon, talked to people that work at Amazon? It's pretty hardcore. Is it a pleasant, nice place? Like we have at ASU, all the professors talking and having coffee, time with their... No, it is an intense, hard game. And and they're changing the world, aren't they? So that's, let's see if there's anything else on that here. Yeah, it's a lot like, you know, if you like those kind of extreme sports, skiing, mountain climbing, I don't know, there's a little risk involved. You don't like the rules and the framework. You could succeed totally there. But remember that you kind of have to unlearn some lessons, and it probably will take you... I was already somebody who was skeptical of university of education, looking at different things, and I work like a dog. I've been going since 5 o'clock this morning, right? I've led 3 sessions with executive teams today. And I'm 53 years old, and I don't have to do anything, okay? So I'm kind of, you know, because this is cool. And, you know, there's major problems in the world, and we need you people to get in the extreme sport and go around the institutions and solve them. I'll just say that, right? Sometimes big institutions could solve it, but, you know, a lot of times it's the crazy ones, right? Okay. I think I beat that one to death. All right. So when you get in When you got an idea, there's a problem in the world, nobody's going for it. I'm really good at this. It doesn't take too far. You get out of the classroom, 2 steps, you get into the business and you see, oh, this is all screwed up. We could do this way better. Talking about construction management, right? There's a lot of smart people in construction and everything gets built somehow. But you go into the construction management companies and most of them are still run on paper and most, they don't have apps that run everything in real time, cost analytics and stuff like that, right? There's opportunities everywhere kind of thing. So when you start the game and you say, I'm going to get into it, yes?
What are some things that you use or techniques to identify an opportunity?
Okay, so an opportunity for a business or a career opportunity is a combination of 3 or 4 things. I can't remember which one it was. Let's see how many I come up with. One is, there's a problem that exists in the world. Either, people aren't eating the greatest burritos on earth, which some people will not call a problem, but, there's an opportunity there. Or there's just a lot of pain and suffering. You go in the construction business, you're going to see, oh my God, I can't believe the buildings get built. And you realize how hard it is, and then you go, now I understand, but then you can kind of try to solve it. There's problems across the university, whatever turns you on. You were talking about HR. You're in the HR major, HR human relations. There's tons of problems in HR. There's the regulations that are getting more complex every year. It's a burden for entrepreneurs. And getting and keeping and making the most of people on your team is a massive challenge. People are in between all of this stuff. The people that use the buildings and the people that make the buildings are just people, right? And that's where all the fun is, right, out there. So there's a problem in the world, and I'll just say it, you want to help go solve that problem. You care about that problem. And it could be, I don't know, whatever, what you think. So there's a problem and you care about it, and you think you can create a product or a service or a business that can solve some of that, a very important part of it, and you can make money. So that was 4th. Okay? There's a lot of problems you can't really make money for. Well, yeah, I mean, you get to choose your own adventure. You can make a small business that's just you. Right now I'm playing consultant guy. Next year I'll have employees. Or you can climb the hill with 500 people and do that. You get to choose your own adventure. I'm just saying, if you're like, I need to start a business and all that cool stuff and venture capital, all that stuff, then you're in a high stakes climbing Everest kind of game, right? So you can choose your adventure. So for you as a career opportunity, what am I good at? What kind of problems do I like to solve? That's pretty much the game. There's problems everywhere. And you can go figure out what kind of people you like to work with and what shape the organization, where you want to be and do all that stuff. Go attach yourself to some important problem. That's where all this comes from. Now, all this tech stuff is, we see a major problem, we're going to go attack it. I think Jeff Bezos at Amazon is not attacking problems, right? You take one step inside a retail store and you're like, there's a problem here, right? And it's going to get worse before it gets better. So those are the 4 things. And you guys should be smelling opportunity. I wasn't the 7th grader who sold baseball cards and made more money than anybody else in school, and like the entrepreneur kid or whatever. I just got out of school. I'm like, I don't know, computers. I guess I could learn computers and sell them. Zing, right? And then, it kept going. And my passion is helping entrepreneurs get through the growth phase to get an up and running business. The difference to start something in the fog and turn it into a flywheel, like any up and running business, that scaling the heights is a massive challenge. It's an extreme sport, and it can be figured out. Yep?
Are there some reasons you've seen repeated for why startups fail early on?
Yes, and I'll get to number 2. And that is, when you start, you go in the general direction. Okay, cybersecurity. Do you know exactly what you're going to know? There's like 100 fields, in every engineering field in cybersecurity, that you could go play with, right? By the way, most businesses that start, and I'm going to start a company, we got funding or whatever, don't get up and running. They don't make it. Most small businesses don't get up and running. And here's one of the reasons. Because when you start, you're in ADD mode. You're starting your career, you're talking to companies, right? Maybe I could do this. Is that it? Oh, I could try that. I'm going to talk to this person. What do you think about that, right? You go try a bunch of stuff. When you start a company, you'll sell to anybody in the general vicinity, and that's ADD, attention deficit disorder. You're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to figure out where's the opportunity, where's the best fit for what I offer for the problem and what I'm trying to solve. That's what most of the startups downtown, the software startups, all the people I'm talking to, they're running around going, I know there's a problem, but how do we start this game? And there's an ADD that's going on there that's early. And early in your careers, you got to try a bunch of stuff. Should I work for a big company? I don't know. Go try it. I just start something. You're going to start something. I'm going to try it. And you're going to explore. You don't know until you get in the game and start moving, right? So, and that's part of the fun, startups, right? You've seen in Silicon Valley, the TV show, hey, let's go over here. Oh, no, it's over here. Let's do this. Okay, that's very typical in most early careers in small businesses when they started this, okay? But that's a huge difference between a scaled up company, something starting to grow, something that's big enough that people recognize it, right? Even the restaurants that you all know here in town, the musicians, the older brothers and sisters of people you know who are now established in their careers, right? Almost nobody starts off and says, I know exactly what it is, and I'm there, and there it is, right? I'm starting a company, growing a career. I was quite random when I started, and I was fortunate to get, on the right track. But I just, there's a lot of experimentation, testing, lean startup, right? Have you heard that stuff? Try stuff, sort it out, try stuff, sort it out, which is kind of the thing you can't learn in school. And so, like my son, he's looking for a job, starting a company in Silicon Valley. Every other day he's calling me. It's like, I think it's over here. I think it's over here. I think it's over here. Yes, keep going, keep trying, right? Eventually you'll start to see it. Everything that's up and running, so this is attention deficit disorder, running around, madness, OCD, is laser focus, okay? Name a popular musician, a big restaurant chain, a cool thing that everybody's buying, right? We all have these thermal flasks now, right? When I was speaking at SU 6 years ago, nobody had those. Everybody had longboards. Now everybody's got those, right? The things that everybody's doing. You look at those companies, the successful people, the most successful Hollywood celebrities, they don't do a little of this and a little of that. And sometimes I play these roles. It's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He plays the same role every time. He's going to take off his shirt, and there's going to be guns, and he's going to say something funny, and he's going to go back and forth with that for an hour and a half. Right? And year over year, he makes the most money. If you're in healthcare, if you're a doctor, okay, the general practitioners, that's the starting point. The doctors that make the most money are the highest specialists. I am a knee surgeon for basketball players. Okay? Laser focus. How do you find laser focus in my career and my business? Well, you know that you're looking for it, but you've got to go run around and see. That's what your career is going to be the next 5 or 6 years. And maybe 10 or 20 years, right? To try a bunch of stuff. By the way, most of the world, you say, well, why don't they grow up and succeed? They do. They kind of stay in ADD mode. I do a little of this, little of that, a little of this, a little of that, right? So, anybody see a band, music, band in a big stadium lately? Anybody? So, who do you see? Metallica. Okay, so Metallica, did they play the same freaking tunes that they've been playing for 20 years and maybe a few new ones? Yes! And I swear they could play other kinds of music. They could probably all switch instruments, right? But they all show up, do the same thing for the crowd, right? How many of you went to that Metallica concert? One. Okay, and it was full, wasn't it? Yeah, and they made a ton of money, okay? They're not for everybody. They played the same thing. That is laser focus. Up and running is laser focus, okay? All I do is help the growth companies between 1 and 10 million, the ambitious ones that are shooting the moon, get through that early stage with a particular thing that I do. And I serve CEOs all over the country, and soon it'll be all over the world. My book comes out, right? What else do I do? Well, I got a couple other things. I play guitar, I ski occasionally, but, and I do a little travel. But for 30 years, that's what I've been doing. I get paid a lot for it. And I'm still getting really, really good at it, right? When you have a really important thing, you want to hire the best and the one that shows up at the top of your Google search, right? You really care about something, I don't know, what do you guys care about? Something important, right? You Google it, whatever comes up first, like 89% of all clicks when you Google something come to the top 3 or 4 searches when you buy, right? The specialist wins. So the people who aren't succeeding, the businesses that aren't, they're just kind of mediocre, and they really haven't found their thing, right? And so having a focus makes up for a lot. I don't have to be as smart as every engineer here. I'm laser focused. I've been doing it for 30 years, and there isn't many. I don't know that there's anybody else in the United States that does it as much as I do, right? And if I do it for another 5 years, inside 1,000 companies with entrepreneurs, I'll be the reigning king. Have the book. You'll see me do the TED Talk. Right? So watch anybody with the TED Talk and trace back their career. You see them zigzagging around till they found their thing, and then they didn't wander around. See what I'm saying? Okay, one last thing on this. Chipotle or Chick-fil-A, the chicken sandwich retailer, I swear to God they could make hamburgers tomorrow. It wouldn't be that hard. You need a grill and a spatula and a ketchup container, okay? They could all do it. They don't. They don't make Chick-fil-A chicken, which is, by the way, makes more same-store sales than a McDonald's, okay? And they're not open on Sundays. And they just make chicken sandwiches. They don't make hamburgers because, like we all know, their advertising campaign, right? The cows say, eat more chicken. And we hear that. So the other reason to have OCD is so people hear what you're best at, and then they line up. Every restaurant in town that you wait in line for is known for one thing: barbecued chicken, the best pizza, whatever. Sears is known for having a lot of things for a lot of people, and they're dead. Specialists eat generalists. It's fun to do a lot of stuff. If you want to win at something and change the world and put a force into it and be heard and have a line, okay, you got to be best at something for somebody. If you love HR and you got this game and you know what it is, there's 20 kind of HR for big companies, for government, for nonprofits, for startups, right? There's the technical side, there's the people side, there's the culture side, which is now new, that didn't really exist 10 years ago. There's a whole bunch of flavors. You got to go within that matrix and say, where is my thing? Where am I best at that? It's a law of nature Everything that you see that is scaled up and successful and everybody knows about it, and boy, what a success story, has a focus by definition. There isn't one that's ADD. Even Amazon, right now, they do rockets and retail organic food. For a long time, they were just books. And they were not just books, they were just books in a browser for people who actually read books and who would put credit card in a browser, which for about 5 years was not everybody. And they went public and dominated because they were just books. So find somebody that's everything to everybody, you go back to their beginning, and they did one thing during their growth spurt. And most companies never outgrow their growth spurt. I'm not going to go like, I could play guitar, but I'm not going to go play Metallica music and be kind of good at that, right? I'm going to continue to double down on what I'm doing. We've got another 20 years to do this. And the reason I'm here today is not because I'm a good guy and know Brittany and, well, you know, whatever. It's like Greg is focused on this thing, right? And people start to hear it. See what I'm saying? So find your focus that's worthy. That's part of the game. All right. The last one here for engineers and everybody else. There's two parts of any business. Any tech business, let's call it that. There's the business side and there's the tech side. Right? And engineers do the technology. And I've been on this side. I hang out with engineers, but I'm not going to do it. Can't code. My son is actually a hardware engineer. He knows how to solder and chips and all that stuff. Make 3D printers and stuff like all that mechanical stuff, right? He's an actual technologist. So a tech business, where I spend a lot of my time. By the way, tech is coming into every business. Software is going to be in every business. Cybersecurity guy here, right? There's cybersecurity companies that focus on that and serve, all kinds of things. There's government, there's everything. We need more of that. Every business is getting technology. Your Chipotle is getting technology. The software is coming into everything. It's changing everything. It's changing what universities are. I'm, streaming this live, and this is like the dark ages of what all this is going to be. Okay? Technology is hard. It requires technical people. I'm here to tell you that to go from small to big, to succeed at startup to growth in the technology game, the problem isn't the technology. People can figure out how to make software. There's a lot of software developers. You can make it all over the world. You can make the thing. So of the hundreds and hundreds of CEOs I talk to, what's your biggest problem? They're all trying to grow something. Make payroll, change the world, same time. Two challenges. 98% of them in the tech business will say, yeah, we think we can make a really good product, and we kind of got that figured out. It's kind of an internal problem inside the business. Get enough engineers and enough money, and I don't know. You can kind of solve that problem. It's hard, but that's actually not the problem to growing a business. The problem they're all dealing with is, I got a product, and nobody's buying it. They're not buying it fast enough, right? A business is a revenue stream, because what you deliver creates value for somebody important. Not everybody, just the focus, just the Metallica fans. Remember that Metallica example. When you want to make money in the world, right? The one that will try to please everybody in this room is not going to make a lot of money. The one that pleases the Metallica superfan and the 100,000 other Metallica superfans that show up at the stadiums is the one that makes a lot of money. Okay? I'm just here to report to you that technology is hard. It's in everything. It requires really smart people and really hard work. It's not actually the hardest part of the problem to grow a business. Every company I talk to, big, small, funded, unfunded, tech-oriented, non-tech-oriented, is saying, we're struggling to get known in the world, to have people line up. to be able to engage and sell so we can make money and make a business out of that to keep grow so we can hire people and pay more engineers and do HR and all that kind of stuff. So to go from nobody knows about us, we're going to start to make this thing and start to sell it, to it's up and running is the harder part of the problem these days. The world still needs great technology, and please don't do mediocre products. The world doesn't need it, right? We didn't fill the Metallica stadium because it was kind of mediocre. It was massively awesome for a certain crowd, okay? You could, like, this is the Steve Jobs speech. Go watch all those things again. Do something massively awesome, okay? Like, every year there's a million books that are published. Traditionally, publishers and, you know, whatever, free publishing or, you know, direct publishing, online publishing, okay? 95% of them don't sell 5,000 copies. Actually, 98% of them. It's not that you can't make a book, the thing, it's, you know, we got to get a crowd. We got to get them moving. We got to get them paying. We got to get them coming back. That's a really magical thing. I love that side of it. By the way, this is a human-to-human game. You know, if you're deep in tech and you want to make money, you should probably learn the human game. Let's like, well, you know, I'm just making stuff up here, right? Here's you, I mean, your imperfect, right, human brain, dealing with teams inside your company, which is really cool and awesome, but also imperfect and human. And then you got to go sell to other people, maybe sometimes through people, to get to that thing. And so your message has to go all the way through other humans and whatever digital bits in the middle to get to other humans. That's actually the game that's being played. So AI is going to make all this move faster and all the rest of it, right? And the best technologists, whether it's Steve Jobs or Google or Amazon, Facebook or whatever, look at Facebook, people. It's great technology. It's really cool. It is like, you know, they're twiddling our human brains, aren't they? We are playing the game. Did you get any likes here? Did I get any likes on this? Like 600 million people are like addicted to this thing. It's not a technology thing. It's, you know, what's in our human brains that's going on. So the more technology that gets added, the more human apparently we become. And that isn't all perfect either. But you know, there's a lot of rocket science in business, and there's some art, and there's a structure to the game. But the success game, like to make a restaurant, you could be a great chef. Okay, that doesn't mean you're going to make any money at all. I gave the answer before, but if you want to make money with a restaurant, what do you got to do? Laser focus. Show me any successful restaurant that, by the way, could make anything tomorrow. I will show you that they don't. I will show you the ones with the shortest menus, have the longest lines, and stay around forever and make the most money. Okay? They can make any kind of food. Like, one last example here, and then I'll shut up. How, you know, what kind of smartphones choices are there in the world? There's the iPhone, there's the Android. We got two of them. Okay, you know how many companies that can make smartphones and the whole frickin' operating system and everything? There's probably 20, 30 companies in the world that could do it all. How come there's two? Like Coke and Pepsi, right? ASU and U of A. How come there's two of those? Uber and Lyft. Okay, what's the third one? What's the third smartphone platform? Okay, what is it?
Windows Phone?
Yeah, Windows, haha. So, okay, what's the third cola? Or sorry, haha. Okay, why is it there's two of these when you win? And in some markets there's one, Amazon, Facebook, Google, right? Winner take all, network effect. It's not really supporting 2 of those in the world. But, you know, most businesses have 2. You know, why is that? It's not that there's only 2 companies that can make it. It's a human game. We just have place for 2 of these in our minds, and we're done. We're cooked. Do you have?
No, I was going to answer the question. I was going to say it's because it's familiar, it's consistent, the user knows what they're going to get, and they don't have to have any surprises.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Is it on? Yep. Okay, it's on. Yeah, I said the reason there's only 2 is because it's familiar. The user knows what they're going to get. It's consistent every single time. It's like when you're drunk and you go to Taco Bell. You know you're going to go to Taco Bell, and you know exactly what you're going to get at Taco Bell, and it's going to hit the spot.
Laser focus, right? There's the Metallica
It's a
one,
specialty.
right? That's the crowd. There's a line, isn't there? Okay? But there's a whole bunch of places that can make tacos at midnight. Okay? There's a human game. I'm now playing a business thing you guys aren't familiar with, right? We're all playing in this game like fish, the joke, 2 fish in water. One says, how's the water? And then the other one says, what's water? Okay, we're in the middle of this game, and we don't see it. Okay? There's only space for, you know, we don't have to think a lot about tacos at midnight or which smartphone to get. We don't have to read for 3 days about the specs of these and compare 15 of them in our spreadsheets. We don't do that. We walk in and we go, am I an iPhone? How does it look on me? Right? That's why there's 2. We don't want to have any more thinking about it. It's a human crowd. It's a psycho-sociological thing. That's marketing. It's not a technology thing. The venture-funded game, the growth game, is all about finding new categories and being 1 or 2 in that game. In a few markets, like Amazon, Facebook, Google, winner take all, it's about being the 1. So, which group chat do you guys use? Group chat? Slack? So, you know, like for on your phone? What's that? GroupMe. WhatsApp. Okay. I'll bet you $100 in 3 or 4 years there's going to be 2 and a ha-ha. That's what's going to happen. Okay? So the couple things that are out there when you apply it to your career, right? Go after it like it's an extreme sport. Don't play by what everybody else the rules is. Go over that, go around it, solve the real problem, take off, ignore everybody, go, right? Go find a focus. You got to go out there and survive long enough to find something you care about that's worth paying for to be the best in the world at. You can zigzag, that's fine. But, you know, find something big enough and don't let go. Like Warren Buffett, the richest guy in the world, has been doing investing for 60 years. What does he say? I don't know, pick the 10 things you guys want to do in your life that are most important to you. Write it down a list. Then pick 3 and ignore the rest. Same kind of thing. So please figure out the business side. It's the hardest problem now. It's easy to make technology. That's why there's 75 group chat of everything, right? And there's 1 Slack. Killing it. All right. So, yeah, the ultimate thing here is the world has a lot of problems. It always did. We see them more visibly now. Go find a problem that's important to you. That's all it is. I've got one. Look at me. I mean, if this is, you know, I got kids out of college and all this kind of stuff, and I am still playing a game like I did when I was 25 because I care about something, and I think I can make a difference. And every day I do. I get it right back at me, like, wow, that was great. Keep going, right? Find a problem that you care about. Inside a company, starting a business. They're all over the place. And 95% of the people in America are walking around not looking for it, not trying to solve it. They're just walking around. 5% of the people are going, you know, this is all made up, and there's crap that needs to be fixed, and why don't we just go do it? 5% are like the entrepreneurial crowd. Everybody else is lining up for jobs, you know, tell me what to do, okay? We need you smarter people to go after these hard problems, learn all the stuff you can, do the hard thing, not die with your business when you got to survive and do this thing. It's really hard. But if you do accomplish big things with teams of people that you care about, that's pretty much the game, right? Families are great. Teams of people that are on a quest, that's awesome too. So thank you very much. Thanks for letting me ramble on about a few things. Okay, so I'm going to turn this microphone on. It is 7 o'clock. I guess I kept a few of you around here for a few minutes. That's good. If you guys have a few general questions, we'll pass the microphone around and then we'll keep going like that. And then maybe if you guys want to go, that's fine. Or, at some point in the next 15 minutes, we'll turn off the mics and just jam on some specific questions if you got. I'm here to help you. This is what I do for a living, as I help the freaks who are going to go solve this stuff, figure it out. So I'm here to help.